right?
Yes, sir. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, dude. Really good. Man, it's hot. It's blitzing out there today. It is scalding.
Oh, South Texas, man. I
Name's
know how it is.
Oh no, you got it way worse than us.
Mhm.
For me, yeah. Maybe it's the same way if you came here for you, but yeah, I've been. We took a Texas trip actually. What city are you guys in?
Bay City, Texas.
Bay City. Where is that?
It's about an hour south from Houston. Like right on
Okay.
the coast, man. We're 20 minutes from the beach.
So is it humid?
Oh, yeah, very. Like 90,
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
90% humidity all the time. So,
Well, when you get into like Houston, you start to get into the dry heat though, right?
no, it's all wet. It's all
Oh
wet.
yeah,
Man.
okay.
It's,
Well, I'll tell you this. We took a Texas trip. We took Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and then Dallas, and then back home in 2018. And I still remember we got out first in Houston, and I felt the dry heat. So for me, I felt it.
yeah,
Coming from Florida,
for sure.
living here my whole life. But anyways, thanks for being on, man. Can you tell us your first and last name, the name of the place, and just tell us all about like what you guys offer there, the types of classes, that kind of thing?
Sure, no problem. So my name is Phillip Miladin. I'm a brown belt under Justin Rennick with Virtue BJJ out of Belton, Texas. Um, my school is Guerrilla Warefare Jiu Jitsu out of Bay City, Texas. Um, right now we offer submission wrestling, jiu jitsu. Got some instructors here that teach, privates for striking if you're interested. Our, I have a full-time job, so it's kind of hard for me to run morning classes and evening or noon classes. But eventually, the ultimate goal is to, quit and run the school full time. But yeah, just classes in the evening, submission wrestling.
What time
Right.
is it open now?
So we start our classes at
5 a.m.
6 p.m. Yeah, right. I wish, man. I wish I can do that. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah.
6 p.m. I get off work. I work a crazy schedule, so it's like days and nights, but I'm here 95% of the time. But we run from 6 p.m. till sometimes 10 if my guys are, wanting to scrap, super late, and I just let them, and I just kind of clean up around them, picking up water bottles. If you own a
Uh,
gym, you know how it is, man. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess like you know, only open at that time. It allows you kind of like it's like probably a little less stressful, right? It allows you kind of like to build up incrementally or something. Is that how it is, or you're just like rearing out the gates, ready to do it full time?
man, I'm all over the place, man. It's stressful. Just there's no time to do anything, especially family time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's just name of the
So
game, man. You got to do it.
did you own a place before this? I mean, it's the same entity. It's
Yes,
just
sir.
like a
Yes,
different
sir.
location.
So we were my work is about an hour away from this school, base, or should I say town, Bay City, Texas, where I live. About an hour away, and so was my Angleton gym. And I just decided to come back home, man, and bring jujitsu back to the community, where I grew up. And uh, ended up selling the gym to one of my good friends. He's an affiliate under my instructor. Shout out to my boy Noah Wyatt, man, with Southern Elite Jiu Jitsu. Uh, Super talented guy, man. If y'all are ever in Angleton, man, go check him out. But yeah, we sold it to him about a month ago, and we've been open for about a month, so doing pretty good, man. Just growing the team.
Cool. So you're originally from Bay City, is that right?
Van Vleck, Texas, which is like right next door. But yeah, Bay City, Matagorda County.
Got it. Got it.
Hmm.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. What is your do you have anything unique about like kind of like your philosophy and like teaching jujitsu? Like, the methodology, anything like that?
Man,
How you go about it?
man, I try to keep it simple, man. You know, there's some instructors, they want to give a whole lot of information, and I get it. I did that, when I first opened up my gym. I wanted to teach everybody the cool moves and cram them with information because I wanted them to get super good, super fast. Because they represent your team and your school. So, but I heard it well from another guy. He told me, he was like, man, it's like trying to feed when you first start off with jujitsu. It's like trying to drink from a fire hydrant. You can't retain all that water, and then slowly, you know, within time, it's eventually drinking from like a water fountain. You can retain a lot more information, as time passes. But man, just keep it simple, man.
Yeah.
I try to, teach technique. I don't try to get too deep into it, unless, there's time and place for that, like privates and stuff where you can like get super detailed. Um, but yeah, just get tons of rounds, man. So nice and simple,
Do you
plenty of rounds.
do you teach, and I forgot what it's called,
The CLA,
is it
the new stuff,
yeah, yeah,
man.
yeah.
I like it. Um, I do teach it, uh, but I don't know. I'm trying to add it, and I probably have it like once or twice a week. But
Yeah.
I do like the traditional, drilling and showing moves and stuff. But there is a place for it for sure.
Okay, okay. Well, can you start, as far back as you want, just kinda tell us, like, why you got into jujitsu and how it happened, and kinda lead up to the story of, what
But
eventually led you into, owning the place.
for sure, for sure. So man, I kind of messed around with it a little bit when I was younger. Everybody, around our age, they UFC, watching UFC and stuff, and you wanted to learn how to defend yourself, learning how to fight. So like started off a little bit of boxing, and then it, kind of died off. But I started in my, mid 20s. Um, it's actually funny, man. I used to be, I don't know, I weigh between like 150 and 170, depending on like what super fight I'm doing. But I used to be a power lifter, so I was like 240, big and strong. And it's funny because Noah Wyatt, 10 years ago, he was a young kid. He's somewhere in his young 20s now, but uh, he was like 15 or 16. Little skinny, scrawny kid, acne on his face, and I'm coming in there, all jacked up. And I was like, man, I want to learn how to defend myself, learn how to defend my family. Well, I was able to take him down because I was so big and strong. But as soon as we hit the mats, he just wrecked me, dude. It was embarrassing. And I sit on the wall and somebody else is like, hey man, you want to get another round? And I'm like gasping for air, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so I left, and I was like, okay, I can either go back to the gym and act like I can fight and intimidate people with my size, or I can actually learn this stuff because some little kid just beat the crap out of me, and that's not supposed to happen. So, that's why I started. And then I stayed at that school for a little while, kind of branched out. And started my own school as a purple belt, and then got my brown belt under Justin Rennick. And yeah, we're just recently moved to Bay City. So
What was it was it for real, embarrassing? Like, you
it was bad,
when you
dude.
got yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
what was
Like,
going
how were you
on. I didn't know what was going
I
on,
mean, that was
man.
your first introduction, right,
Yeah,
to jujitsu?
yeah.
Yeah.
And looking back, he wasn't even being mean or anything, but it felt that way. He was super relaxed and calm. And I think he was only like a blue belt at a time. So it was like, man, he ain't been training that long. And I just couldn't do anything, man. I didn't know what was going on. It felt like I was being held underwater, and I couldn't swim, man. It was terrible, and it was an ego thing, man. And I was a big, strong dude, and I thought I was bad, and I thought I could fight, but that was not the case. So definitely changed
And
my
I
life.
mean, is that why you wanted to do more of it, to learn, how in the world to do that,
That
or
definitely
was
made
it something
made
that
it like made me want to come back. Um, Initially, it was I wanted to learn how to defend myself, but getting my butt whooped pretty good by somebody that was way smaller than me and younger, it was like, okay, dude, you need to fix something because this shouldn't be happening. And I kind of,
Mhm.
low key wanted to do this to people too. Like, this is kind of cool, man. So
How how was your progression as far as, getting better? Was it like did it take long to, figure it out, or did you progress, quickly?
man, my white belt days, I was doing pretty good. I jumped right into competition like 3 months in, and I was doing really well. And then my instructor at the time belted me pretty early, but he seen I was doing good, and I got my blue belt, and I was on top of the world. And then right when I hit my first blue belt bracket, got wrecked. you know, so there's levels to it, man, and, you know,
Do you mean when you say bracket, you mean
yeah,
competition or just like training class?
competitions. I compete pretty heavily. Last year was a good year for me, and, you know, I'm getting older, I'm 37, gonna be 38 in December, and, so I can't compete as much as I want and, you know, schedule-wise, but my team competes a lot, you know, I'm really big on competition. I don't believe it's the most important thing. You know, I think it should change your life and other aspects off the mats. I think that's more important. But man, competition, man, it's big for me personally. I feel like I don't want to say like that's how you represent your team, but in a way, you know, like if you go do well in competition or fairly well, it shows that, you know, your instructor knows what he's doing. It shows, you know, your school has some killers in there. So, and the jujitsu is actually working because you're fighting against somebody that's also training. So, you know, in turn, it's like if somebody attacks me somewhere that has no training at all, it should work, right? So,
Mm. Did you get into competition like right away, or did it take a while, or you?
about 3 months of training, it was my first one,
Oh,
and it wasn't that good.
yeah.
I think I won my first one by like a crazy, I don't know. I got lucky and like sunk in. It was almost like a neck crank or like a rear naked choke, but I was squeezing at the jaw. I didn't really get under the neck, and then the next match, some dude just smothered me the whole time. So didn't really know how to get
Was
out
it
of
what?
mount. And
What was it like? So kind of surprising when you won that first match.
yeah, it was a huge rush for me, man. And I was immediately hooked. I was like, dude, I got to do this again. This is so crazy. Just the adrenaline and you know, you just feel like you're on top of the world for, you know, that amount of time. But definitely
Yeah.
addicting for me. And I tell all my students, like, you know, competition isn't mandatory, but try it. Like, try it once. You're probably going to fall in love with it. And you just get better faster, in my opinion, if you compete.
Do you think a lot of students are kind of scared as far as like the attention on them in competition, especially like the younger they are, the less they kind of know what it's all about?
Yeah, I think that never changes,
I know
man.
you
It's,
have different, different things going on at one time, right?
mhm.
Different matches, or do you call it a match or role, or what do you call
Yeah,
that?
just a match.
Yeah. So I wonder if like a lot of people don't really kind of understand that and don't get the actual vibe of it before they, go the first time. Do they feel kind of like hesitant because they're
Y
weary about all the attention?
I would say definitely probably competition is, the nerves is, like, the worst thing. You know, you can me, myself, I'll just speak on myself, I won't speak on any students, but me, myself, like, I know I can roll really good in the training room where I'm comfortable, and then some matches I go in there and I'm like, "What did I just do? That was absolutely terrible." Even, like, winning, I'm like, "That wasn't how I perform. That's not how I do." So if you can, like, and you have to compete. You have to compete, you have to get out there and continue to compete and get those nerves off, but it never really goes away. You just get used to the nerves and you kinda use it, you know, and you gotta just gotta remember, like,
Yeah.
that guy across from you, he's freaking out too, man. Y'all are both freaking out. So, you know, but once a match hits, like, everything goes quiet, man, and it's you know, you know what time it is and you know you gotta get to work, so but yeah, definitely nerves. If you can get those out of the way, man, it's competitions, you know, it's gonna be a little bit easier for you, but it's easier said than done. So
Yeah. Is there a lot of traveling with competition, or I mean,
there can be.
how do I like, I know there can't be like, what would like for the norm, what's the norm? Not somebody just doing it every once in a while, not somebody doing it constantly, but just kind of like at a normal pace. Would there be quite a bit of traveling or not necessarily?
So the way I do it is I run competition a little bit differently. I'll do team tournaments a few times a year. That way everybody can get on a card or get on like a local tournament. And our local tournaments are usually within a 3 hour drive because it gets expensive, man, with with expenses and travel costs. And then, like, say, if you're bringing the whole family, now you got to pay for everybody's competition, everybody's food, hotel. So I try to keep it local, where you just got to drive out there and you come back the same day. As for me, I like to travel because it's just me, and I'll take a team of like my um, like guys that want to compete a whole lot, and it'll just be like maybe like 4 or 5 of us, and we'll go on a big card together. So I'll try to separate like the kids and the guys that don't really compete a whole lot on their own thing, so I can give my full attention to them. Because and I
Mhm.
get, honestly, dude, I get kind of like selfish when it comes to competition. So I don't want to do that to my students. So I kind of sit back a little bit and I'll give
Yeah.
them my full attention. And then when it's my turn, then I'll do my own, competitions on the side. That way I can not have any excuses. Oh, well, I was coaching all day and now I'm tired and this and that, because I'm the biggest guy to do that. So, like, no excuses.
Yeah.
You know, he's just a
It's
better guy,
natural, right? And what when you first started teaching jujitsu, what was it that you liked about it? What did you really like teaching, or did it takes like a long time to like kind of enjoy it, or how did that go?
Man, I hopped in right away. I was fortunate enough to have an instructor to allow me to help him teach, and then eventually I was teaching classes for him. Um, but man, I love whenever I could pick one thing, uh, just whenever that light bulb goes off in somebody, when you show them something, they're like, oh, and it clicks. And not only does it click and they freak out about it, but it's like they apply it and it works, and then they want a match or something off of it, and it's like, man, it's that excites me. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah. And if you could just sum up like what jujitsu has done for your life overall over the years, what would be your answer to that?
oh man, a few things, man. We could just talk about friendships, man. I've Majority of my friends train jujitsu, or I've met them through jujitsu, or I've competed against them one time, or trained with them at a different gym one time, and we immediately became best friends. There's something weird about beating the crap out of each other and then being buddies right after. There's some weird bond that jujitsu gives you. Um,
Maybe it takes away all the ego, right? For one thing.
for sure, for sure. The mats don't lie, though. So that ego goes out the window very quickly. But man, you just become really good friends. Uh, One of my black belt friends told me, he was like, if this goes on friendships, but if you, I like to build relationships off the mats with my students. And he was telling me, he was like, man, if you train at a gym and you can't call somebody to help you out with something, whether it be like you're broke down somewhere or you need help moving or whatever, and 5 of your teammates, 10 of your teammates don't show up, man, you need to move schools, because that's not the school for you. Like, you should be
Mhm.
for your teammates and your students on and off the mats 100%. Um, but yeah, that, and man, it jujitsu gives me purpose. It, people trust in me to give them the tools to get better. They confide in me, give me their life problems and stuff. So, you're not just a instructor, you're also like a therapist, or, I'm many things and besides a jujitsu instructor. So, just purpose. I feel like I have a purpose now. Um, the, the thing,
Is there a time before and after training where those kind of conversations can happen?
oh yeah,
Those life
most definitely, man. Like,
conversations?
so there's like an hour after class, and my wife gets so mad, and I'm so sorry, but I can't help it. But we sit and we just hang out. We like crack open a beer, like adults class, right? Like, crack open a beer and just hang out, sit out here on the porch out here, and or just hang out in our lounge room and just talk and just, you know whatever, just like we're hanging around a campfire or something. But it's every night, and I'm like, all right, it's getting late. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I need to go home. I got work in like 4 hours. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but man, I don't know, it's a beautiful thing, man. Just the camaraderie and the brotherhood behind it, and you know,
Why do you think I mean, I think you're hitting on it a little bit. Why do you think people love it there at the academy? at your academy?
Biggest thing I hear is the vibe. Just the vibe's different. I'm not super big on like being traditional, you know. I tell my students like, you know, when you go somewhere else, respect their academy. You know, bow before on and off the mats, you know, that type of stuff, you know. I do like the little basic rules like no shoes on the mat and stuff, you know, things like that. But
Yeah.
man, I'm not super
Of
strict,
course.
man. I'm not super strict. Uh, I like to just be laid back, and I don't want my students to feel like they're walking on eggshells. Like if they're late and they're like, "Do I have to
Yeah.
ask permission to get on the mats?" No, I'm glad you're here. I get it. You have a job. Like
Yeah.
show up when you can, you know. But yeah, for the most part, man, just the vibe, dude. It's a really good. We got a lot of good people in here. Take care of each other, and you know, we build relationships off the mat. So we're all friends. We all go, you know, golfing together or hunting. I take their kids hunting and fishing, and you know, just build relationships, man. But
What do you hunt?
so we shoot pigs down here. Big thing pig.
Pigs.
Yep. With like night vision thermal. We hunt deer, bobcats, you know, whatever's out there and living and you want to eat. So
Yeah. You have any, like, scary stories as far as, like, getting close to a bobcat or anything like that? Or I
there's
saw a YouTube,
there's some
Facebook
crazy
video
times.
just the other day of, like, somebody a bobcat came have you seen that? Some kind of viral video of the bobcat coming up to, a kid that was hunting, um, just, like, a few feet away,
Hmm.
and they didn't shoot it, and then it just, like, got startled and ran off.
I've seen some
I
wild
guess that's
stuff
what I'm
like
asking.
that dude choking out that mountain lion. I don't know if you've seen that, but a guy choking
Oh,
out a mountain lion.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he got attacked and
Uh-uh.
he choked out a mountain lion. I'm like,
Really? I'm writing it down. I
yeah,
gotta look at it.
check it out.
I might sign
I
up for
don't know if there's a
that, yeah.
video on it, but they said he did, and like he has proof. And,
Yeah.
yeah,
Got it, got it, got it, got it. Well, if you could tell, people, like, what jujitsu can do for their lives, what would you tell them? If they're asking you. They're coming in and kinda like, "What can this do for
what
me?"
can this do for me? You know, everybody likes to say, you know, discipline, you know, integrity, you know, like the basic things. But man, there's so many things, like hidden benefits that you don't really see or feel until you start training. Um, the biggest thing for me, like it for almost my entire life until I started, you know, in my mid 20s, was I could never finish anything. I always start something and could never finish it because it just got too hard, or I just part of it being lazy too. But you know, I went to college and like probably 4 or 5 years into training jujitsu, you know, like my early 30s, which is kind of late for some people, but I feel
Mhm.
like it helped me finish college, you know, like jujitsu applies to life, as in, you know, you're getting pressured on the mats. You know, you got somebody on top of you pressuring you. So you're freaking out, right, at first. And eventually you learn to calm down, take a breath, and then eventually, you know, problem solve and get out of that situation in order to, you know, come on top, right? Same thing applies in life. Something comes up, you might freak out about it at first. Then you take a step back, you take a breather, and then you relieve that pressure off of you. And then now you figured it out, you problem solved. So it just applies in life, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a batter swinging with 2 bats before they go up to the plate,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
I've thought of that before. Uh, just last week, it was a few days where I was telling myself underneath my breath, "I can do hard things."
All right.
Yeah,
Just
if
step
no, it's
back.
just like having a stressful time or whatever, getting stuff done. And, I was talking about that with somebody yesterday on the podcast where I guess, you tell me, but I guess jujitsu is kinda like that where it's kind of a little voice that's confirming to you that you can do hard things
All right.
when you have, hard things going on in life, right? Um, to wrap it up, what would you like to say to your community there at the academy?
Oh man, just a huge thank you. There's no way that I can ever have any of this without my students. You know, I need them here. Um, I just it's all them. It's not me. Without them, I wouldn't have any of this. So just big thank you, and man, come see us. Come try it out. The biggest regret you're gonna have is I didn't start this sooner. So
Yeah. I it's kinda interesting how jujitsu is like an individual sport where it all relies on you as far as, like, your success, I guess, but
mhm.
at the same time, you rely on people,
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's not a team sport, but in a sense it is.
Yeah, it can be both for sure. When you're competing out there, you
Yeah.
feel like it's your.
When you're competing, yeah.
You're like,
But
oh,
I
I'm
mean,
on
just
my
like,
own, but
regular.
in order to get better, in
Yeah.
order to make this place what it is, you need community. You need good people behind you, beside you. Just equal equal minds. Wanting to have the same goal or.
I love your hat. I see the logo on your
No, I
hat.
appreciate it, brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the gym
It's
logo.
pretty cool, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we
I
done.
love
Well,
it
I
on the
done changed
side
it like
too.
4 different times, dude. But I was like, new school, I'm gonna change it. So we got like 3 or 4 logos, but I don't care. Kind of going with like a war room vibe, but
You guys are on social media, right?
yes, sir.
You wanna, shout out your socials?
Yeah, just Guerrilla Warfare Jiu Jitsu on Facebook, Instagram. And we don't have a TikTok or anything. I ain't got time for all that. But yeah, just Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah. Facebook and Instagram
Yes,
in
sir.
Bay City, right?
Yes, sir.
Bay City,
Bay
Texas.
City Tech.
Alright, man. Well, thank you so much for your time, man, and for your cool story. I really appreciate it. Thank
Hey,
you for what you're doing for your community there.
yes,
It's,
sir.
it's always good stories,
Mhm.
and it's really amazing what it's doing for people.
Yes, sir. It's beautiful, man. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the opportunity to, shout myself and my gym out. And if you're ever down in Bay City, Texas, man, bring your boy and we can let him beat me up a little
We
bit.
got the cities written down, buddy. I
For
got it down.
sure, for sure.
We're going all across the US, and I got, like, 30 places here written down. For sure. I will stop by. I hope you have a good day, buddy. Thank you so much for
Hey,
talking today.
Cody, I appreciate you, brother. Until next time.
Alright.
All right.
See ya.
Later.
Hey, Kayvon, what's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much. Can you tell me your first and last name and the name of the place, where you guys are, and just talk about the place, what you guys offer?
Sure, yeah. My name is Kayvon Rahbar. We are at Jiu Jitsu in Allen, Texas. It's across the street from Allen High School, which is the largest high school in the state of Texas. We're in the North Texas area of DFW. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
And then what do you guys offer there? Like, what kind of classes?
Oh, yeah, in terms of the program, so, most of what we do is jujitsu. Most of the students of the school are doing jujitsu. Most of the students, 60 to 70% are kids.
Mm,
And most of those students are between 6 and 12, 6 and 13. That's where most of our classes are. We do gi jujitsu. We do no gi. We do no gi one day of the week because for kids and adults, we think that's more sustainable. Wrestling and no gi can be a bit taxing on the body, so we like
okay.
to stick with the gi. We also offer Muay Thai. We do that pretty much every day of the week, and we are also doing a small MMA program right now. And then in the fall, we are going to add judo and wrestling into the curriculum and as standalone programs for both adults and kids.
Awesome, awesome. I got a question, 2 questions. Why is no-gi more taxing on the body?
Because you don't have the grips of the gi to slow the action down. So in gi, you have pant grips, collar grips, belt grips, sleeve grips, and a variety of other places you can grip that tightens things up. There's also more friction between the body and the mat, between each of the, you know, you and your opponent. You're going to have more, there's just more friction because there's cloth. You got this 380 to, 550 GSM cotton that creates a lot of friction. So it's not as slippery. So when it's more slippery, like like no gi, and you don't have the grips, there's just a lot more movement. So when there's more movement,
Mm.
your heart rate goes up more. There's a lot of just explosive dynamics and more creative things that people are going to try and attempt. So it's very popular with young guys, between their mid 20s, and maybe even early 20s to late 20s. And it's obviously very popular with a subset of high level professional jiu-jitsu athletes. But as a business where you're mostly dealing with hobbyists, 95 to 99% of the people at our school, and frankly in most schools, are going to be hobbyists. The gi is the appropriate pace for people to be able to train consistently 3-4 times a week or more. We have lots of people at our facility that are training 6 times a week. Some people occasionally are 7 times a week. We have some people that come twice a day. They can do
Mhm.
that as hobbyists in the gi. That's going to be pretty tough to do when you're a 35-year-old guy with a kid and maybe a mortgage and things like that and responsibilities. So we well, and the other thing is the gi is, I think, more interesting technically because there's a variety of elements in it that you can't even experience in no gi, but it's not the other way around. What you experience in the gi, you will experience in no gi, but not the other way around. So that's kind of why we focus on the gi.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've never heard of that, so I'm glad I asked that. Yeah, I've never
Sure.
yeah, I've never heard
Yeah, I
that
guess the
perspective.
only other thing I'll add is,
Like, it's more sustainable. Yeah, I get it, though.
and for little kids, if you do both, like if you did, well, whatever day of the week, if you do it 1 or 2 times a week for little kids, like let's call it like 3 to 6, 7, they just get confused
Okay.
because all of a sudden you go from having those grips to not
Yeah,
having those grips. Um, and that, you want the kids having a good learning experience. So when you reduce the variable of a different form of jujitsu, it makes their progress a little more consistent and predictable.
got it. What's the oldest, age person there? I always ask that because it's kinda interesting. I think the highest was, 78 or 80.
So yeah, at our school we've had a guy who did CrossFit and was actively in law enforcement that was 74 years old. I think that's the oldest we've had. Currently, the oldest student, late. I want to say, oh no, we got at least one guy in his early 50s right now.
Okay, okay.
So I
It's
don't
just
think we have
always an
anyone in their
interesting question.
nobody in their
Yeah.
60s or 70s right now. So early 50s right now is the oldest, but we have had older.
I always like to ask that because in case somebody's watching and they, they think they're too old or anything, it's good to hear the number.
I don't think there's too old. Uh, you have the issue is not the age of the student. The issue is the culture and the management of the school. So if you manage your program and you manage your instructors to apply the appropriate amount of training intensity to the age of the participant, anybody should be able to train. Like my wife was training at our 6 a.m. classes up until she was 29 weeks pregnant, and she would train pretty much with guys. But that's
Okay.
because our instructors know to control the training intensity, and we're not training in a way that it becomes a battle over strength and speed and intensity. Because obviously, you take your average guy, you put him against the average pregnant lady, and I'm pretty sure the average guy wins every time. But you have to have a culture. Signs of a healthy culture is women can train, old people can train, disabled veterans can train, police officers can train, people whose
Injured people can
lives.
train.
Sorry?
Injured people can train.
Well, that's a loaded question. It depends on the
Yeah, that's why
injury.
I ask it because I
That depends on how.
kinda think it's kinda loaded. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
kinda interested in, like, how would that work out? If it's something that, like, let's say, um mean, I don't know if there's any other answer other than it just depends. But, do you ever have anybody that's, I mean, does that ever happen? Anybody that's injured in any way, still training? It's
Well,
kinda like,
people, if you're doing
you
jujitsu
figure it
or
out.
any combat sport, you're always going to have some level of injury. It might be a bruise, it might be a tendonitis, it might be sore muscles. You know, Obviously, the younger you are, the more likely you're going to work through those injuries and keep training, and the older you are, the less likely. It's really a matter of what's the nature and severity of the injury. If it's just a nagging soreness versus, you shouldn't be training with anything torn, anything, like a muscle tear, muscle strains. We have people who've had bad knee injuries, keep training, but you also got to know yourself and your body and what you can handle, right? So guys that have had a bad knee injury, they're not taking aggressive wrestling shots necessarily, or even defending takedowns too aggressively. They're fine to pull guard, or they're fine to just go with the takedown and just accept it and play guard that way, just as a way to keep the training going. And the less ego you have, the more likely you're not going to hurt yourself. The people that have a lot of ego and want to win in training, which is really pointless, because training, the purpose of training is to improve, not to dominate. So when you have people that train to win, they hurt themselves. And if you combine an injured person with a mentality of training to win and dominate, you're going to get hurt, because your ego is in the way of your improvement and your safety, and probably the
Yeah.
safety of other people. You're probably going to hurt other people. So we've had I for a while we've had one catastrophic injury, which was very unfortunate, but it was a bit of a fluke. It was one of our purple belts was training with a white belt, and white belt went for a collar drag, and as the purple belt was getting taken down, he posted with his hand, he broke his forearm, and he dislocated his elbow. It was a fluke. This guy's pretty experienced, and I don't think the other guy was trying to hurt him. On the adult side, that's the worst we've had. So, that's one in almost a year and a half. And then we've had a couple broken toes between all the programs, like big
Mm.
toes, a couple little toes with the kids, but they're all back to training. So as a gym owner, when, you just have one bad injury in that long, I think that's pretty good. We obviously want it to be zero, but there's just the randomness of this
Yeah.
variable sport that you can't control. And I think the guy who injured him is like he's like a little PTSD from hurting the guy, and we don't want him to feel that way, because everyone who was there knows it was an accident. But that's a much healthier response than being proud about what you did. Um, so our members are pretty safe with each other. They're considerate. They keep each other safe. And I think, I know we're going a little off trail, but I think the most
Well, one of
important
the
thing.
question I'm sorry, Matt. One of the questions I was gonna ask you, kinda getting to it, is like, if you're like, just tell me like how it is there. Like, could it ever be the case where, a person is kinda, it's okay to train, it's not severe enough to not train at all, but at the same time, they're kinda like telling each person they're rolling with, "Hey, I got this going on." Does that happen?
You know,
Is there a communication, or is there, if that's going on, it's just better not to roll? Do you understand what I'm asking?
no, I understand the question. It's a very difficult question to answer, because I'm not I'm not convinced that I'm not convinced that students how do I word it? There's a, there's a you approach an infinite number of possible positions you can be in with your body and your training partner's body. And to make the request for someone to perpetually watch out for your body is a pretty tough thing to do, when usually what they're focused on is keeping their own body safe. So if there's a big skill difference, then it's a little easier. So if you have an injured, let's not say completely injured, but you have a somewhat compromised, for whatever reason, shoulder or something, and you're a white belt. Well, whether you're injured or not, the safest person for you to train with is the high level black belt that's around, right?
Yeah.
So, in our case, Coach Gilson is usually the one that rolls with the students, and he's a third degree black belt, multiple time world champion, won over 40 IBJJF opens. He's not going to get himself hurt, and
Yeah.
probably not going to you're probably not going to hurt him. You're never going to pass his guard. So he's kind of in control of you, whether you want to admit it or like it or not, when you're in that role. And as long as you don't do anything too creative that you haven't been taught, you're going to be okay. And that's a safe person for you to train with. But can I say the same if I let the guy that's been training with 6 weeks train even at 60% with the new guy? No, I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's you're mixing, you're asking for fireworks. So the most dangerous person on the mat is the new guy. The closer you are to the new guy, and the more severe your injury is, and the more you train with somebody that's also close to being the new guy, the more you're asking for a bad outcome. The safe people to train with are your upper level belts, your purple belts, your brown belts, your black belts. Those are the safest people for anybody to train with, because they're not going to spaz. They're not going to do anything they don't know. They're going to work technique. They're not going to get into a strength and ego battle with you. And they may let you get into a dominant position for a little bit so they can work on their escapes or submission escapes, that kind of stuff. So, if I'm an injured person, I'm looking for the very experienced people. I'm going to train with them. They can probably be like, oh, okay, this part of your body is hurt or whatever, and I can. But if you ask that to someone who's been training for 6 months, you're putting a burden on them that isn't appropriate for their level of skill and experience.
Thank you for that answer. I think that's
Sure.
the most specific ways one could answer that question, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, I
Yeah, no
completely
problem.
understand, because it's really hard to answer that, but that's why I asked it. I thought it's pretty interesting, how that could happen. Especially being like, like a white belt being injured, how would you go about that? Someone new that doesn't know what to do, do I do it and try to let them know? So it depends. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, the reciprocal question, when two people are like, hey, let's go full speed, let's go at it. What is that, what that means for Coach Gilson, who's third degree black belt, and what that means for a white belt that's been training for 3 weeks. I mean, we're not even talking the same thing. His 100%, well, I'll put it the other way around. The white belt's 100% is like Gilson at like 1%, 5%. There's just such a gap that that's kind of a not even, that's just as bad of an idea, because you're not, like I said, you're not, the extremes are both bad, right? But
I understand. Yeah.
if you're training in that middle ground, we like to tell people stay in third gear, stay at cruising speed. You don't want to get on the Autobahn, and you don't want to be a pedestrian, right?
Yeah.
You want to stay at third gear, where you're going fast enough where you have good fuel efficiency, on your energy, but you're not going so slow you're not getting a workout. And we always remind people, train so you can train tomorrow. So if you're injured, you're inexperienced, all these rules, they work for, they're it's kind of a one size fits all approach to training. It should work for everybody. Training at a competition pace is really difficult for people because you have to find the right training partners. They have to be age and weight and skill appropriate because that's who you're going to face in the competition. So it doesn't make sense to have an ultra heavyweight, go with, a lightweight in competition training all the time because either
Yeah.
one's not getting exposure to the real speed and resistance they're going to encounter when they go in competition. So, we don't like competition pace, even though we have two coaches that are both highly accomplished world champions. We don't like leisurely pedestrian stuff because people are there for a workout, right? You got to at least get your heart rate up, all that good stuff.
Right. Do you wanna, highlight any instructors there?
Well, we have two main jiu-jitsu instructors. Our head coach is Amari Batech. He's a very accomplished seventh degree black belt. He's a coral belt, red and black belt. He was a UFC fighter. He has 7 UFC fights. He went 5-2. He's a black belt in judo. He did Muay Thai for 10 years. And he actually has he had a longer undefeated record than Hodger Gracie. He was undefeated for 11 years. So he's the first two-time absolute world champion, 1996, 1997. He's a really accomplished individual, and he's got, as a result of doing judo and jiu-jitsu, he's got an encyclopedic level of knowledge when it comes to, this form of grappling that we're all doing. Um, you can ask him a question and he will, man, he'll take you to another world every time you ask him a question. Particularly if you're like at the blue belt level or up. A lot of these one-off, very esoteric situations you find yourself in, he's the kind of guy where, it's like you're going to the Oracle for answers or something. He's really, really impressive in that regard. And then Coach Gilson is also a highly regarded, accomplished competitor. He's a pan champion in the gi and no gi. He's a North American champion in gi and no gi. He's won over 42 IBJJF Opens. He just
Mm,
competed twice in the last 2 months. He gold medaled at both of them. He went to San Antonio and he went to New Jersey for 2 Opens. The last one, he did 3 triangles, 3 submissions, 3 matches to win the gold. Really accomplished guy, both gi and no gi. Silver medaled, I believe it was 2018. He's silver medaled in the adults, um, for the worlds. He kind of made one small mistake. I think it kind of bugs him to this day. He's a really humble guy, but very impressive competitor, very hardworking instructor, very much cares for his students and their technical progress. He takes it very seriously. Um, we're very lucky to have these two guys. They're world class. I'm fairly sure. I I say it a lot. I hope I'm right, but I'm fairly confident we're the only school in DFW with 2 world champions on the mat for all the evening classes. I don't think
mm,
I don't know there's any other school that can say that.
mm. That's amazing, man. Yeah. Will you take us back as far back as you want and kinda just tell us, like, your jujitsu journey and, what kinda led to you, owning the academy?
I got laid off in October of 2023. I was working in real estate development and I had gained some weight. And I was always very active. I did a lot of powerlifting. I was a football player in college. I did wrestling in high school. But I gained some weight and I was at a facility that had uh, weights and a jujitsu mat. And I was just always watching this jujitsu from the side. And frankly, I was like, this is pretty weird. I don't understand what they're doing. I thought guard pulling in particular, I thought was one of the weirdest things to watch. I was like, man, what
Yeah.
are these guys doing? So, um, I was just watching these guys train while I was lifting weights, and I just I just saw these guys are nice guys, and the instructors and the family there that was the instructors, and I needed to lose weight, and I thought, man, I really need someone to push me and challenge me and get me outside of my comfort zone. Because if I'm left to my own vices, I'm not going to do any cardio. Like it's just not. It's not. I'm not going to go for a run. I'm not gonna get on a bike. Like those are just not. I done football, wrestling, track and field, all this stuff, but I never went out of my way to do cardio. Like maybe some sprints. So I thought, I need to do cardio. I'm not doing that. I'm overweight. So I signed up. I didn't even do a trial class. I just signed up, bought all the gear. I was like, okay, fine. Let's do this. And lost 40 pounds in 6 months. And,
Wow.
and kind of around that time, I really also, you're kind of trying to figure out, like, do I like this? Like, I like losing the weight. I was like, do I like this? Because a
How
lot of
often
it
were
is
you going
just,
a week?
I was going a lot because I was unemployed. So I would
Okay.
train some days, 2 days, 2 times, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I'd train twice a day. And then I'd
Mm,
pretty much train every day except Friday. At my school, they took Fridays off, but we had open mats on Saturday and Sunday. So I'd go to all the weekday classes for the most part. And then, a few times I even did 3 times a day. So I trained a lot.
wow.
I did like just one or two competitions as a white belt. And I kept losing more weight. So, I was getting the goal I ultimately wanted, which was to lose the weight. But then as time went on, I really found myself finding jujitsu very interesting mentally, intellectually. I think it's a fun chess game to think about and to experience. So I think that's why I got more into it. And then they at about the year mark, they promoted me to blue belt, and we opened up Gym Jitsu about 4 months after that.
Okay. And what made you want to, open up a place, open up an academy? Did you like kinda spreading the word? Did you like teaching, anything like that, or any other reasons?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of reasons. I think, there's a reality of I didn't want to work for anyone. I'd done a handful of corporate jobs, and I had a bad taste in my mouth. I decided that, one was I wanted to work for myself, but I also saw that a lot of jujitsu schools are run by people that don't know how to run a business. And, I have a business background. I worked in big tech. I worked in, big four accounting. I had a Wall Street job. I was a stock market analyst, and I do real estate development as well. So I think my perspective on how to run a business is definitely different than your typical jujitsu school owner. And I saw some opportunities where there's poor business and operational execution on the part of these martial arts school owners. And I thought I could do something differentiated and competitive. And ultimately, like our mission is to have people's lives improved through martial arts. And I think principally the business that I'm in is not sports or health or fitness. I think there's, for some reason or another, jujitsu in particular, but martial arts more broadly speaking, has a tremendous impact on the meaning that people have in their life. And so for us, we view ourselves as we're in the human development business. And
Mm,
what what we're trying to do is make people's lives more meaningful through martial arts, because I think it's a way. It's not the way, but it is a way for people to improve their lives and develop community and friendship and challenge themselves with something difficult and rise above the challenge. And
Yeah.
our job is to create the sandbox for people to have that experience. And I think for me, it's incredibly meaningful. And particularly to see that with kids, with young people, you know, they come in shy, they come in timid, they come in crying, they come in being bullied, they come in with a variety of positive experiences, but sometimes unfortunately negative that they've had in their life. And
Mhm.
and then we see them change over time. We see them, you know, they've got their chin up, you know, they're not slouched over. They come in, they greet you, they shake your hand. They're different people. And I think
When
that's
when you
very.
mentioned bullying, martial arts in general can teach kids how to deal with bullying, not only by fighting, right? But just how to, conduct themselves or how to take stuff, how to not take stuff, how to stick up for themselves verbally. Is that right?
I think a bully has a mindset, um, and and they're predators.
Mm,
You know, they're unfortunately they're however they're middle school kids, high school kids, they're predators. They prey on people they perceive to be weak and incapable of advocating for themselves, and so they're kind of predators, leeches, and ticks, right?
yeah,
There's some sick pleasure they get from feeling that they're above another person.
yeah,
So those, there's kids that are perceived to be in the in the target of a bully because they're perceived to be weak, or they're perceived to be kids that can't advocate for themselves, or for whether it's verbally or physically. There's a perception that, okay, you're someone I can feed off of, and I'm not going to suffer any consequences. And unfortunately, the public school systems don't do anybody a favor, because they don't do anything. The public school systems are creating the environments for bullies to exist because of the way they view discipline and consequence and personal responsibility. That's a whole nother
mm,
conversation. But when the kids learn to be someone that presents themselves in the world as someone that can advocate themselves, that whether it's physically or verbally, then the bullying tends to go down. That's
yeah,
that's just the way it is. You know, the child predators, they, like, when they've interviewed them, I'm sure you've seen it, people have seen it, well, if the dad is weak, then the kids would be a target, right? It's a similar
mm,
thing. Like, if there's a perception there of vulnerability and weakness or naivety, bullies are the kind of people that look for that and target that. And once you eliminate that as a part of you know, the aura that you give off, then the
yeah,
bullying tends to drop.
yeah. What's the biggest way that jujitsu's changed your life, your personal life?
It's lowered the cash in my bank account tremendously. Because we've only been open for a year and a half. That's the biggest impact jujitsu has had on me. I think that's going to change soon because we're doing very well and we're growing. But uh, on a less material level, I think um, significantly more relationships and friendships is definitely what I've seen, whether it's training, the training partners, instructors. I hesitate to call them customers, but that's what they are. They're customers. They're also students of our instructors. Um, it's a lot of relationships with people from all walks of life and all professions that I've never experienced. My professional
Mhm.
background always kept me in pretty pretty narrow professional circles and relational circles. So
Yeah.
that's probably the relational part of it. Is someone who's a business owner is definitely pretty impactful. I mean, obviously I've had some personal health benefits, losing a lot of weight, all that kind of stuff. But I think more I could do that a bunch of different ways, but I don't think you definitely make unique relationships doing jujitsu that you don't expect. There's this line in Lord of the Rings, and it basically says, you get these friends from unexpected places. And I think jujitsu is kind of like that. You just find
Yeah.
yourself, like I've got we've got business owners, got IT professionals, we've got blue collar people, we've got people that have been to prison, veterans, we've got a
It's like going
PA.
to Walmart or a restaurant or something, everybody has to eat. Everybody
There's
has to
there's
protect themselves.
there's no profile for somebody that does martial arts. You can't.
Yeah.
There's not a
Why do
profile.
people, love it there at the academy? Why do you think they like it there? Why do they keep coming back?
I think it's I think we execute on our mission well. I think we improve people's lives, and that's at the highest level. I think that's the number one thing. I think you can't fake culture. You can do a lot of advertising and hocus pocus, and believe me, people see me and our instructors there every day. After a while, they figure you out. They know who you are. You can't really hide your personal character flaws. Yeah, you're not going to be able to hide as a jujitsu school owner or instructor behind your charisma, or in your office. Your customers, you're going to see it's a very different business. It's one of the least transactional businesses and one of the most relational businesses that I
Mm,
can think of. You come in there, you're going to see some of these parents, some of these kids more than you see your own family and your own relatives, and that's just normal. And it's going to be very obvious the kind of person you are and the way you run your business and the values you have. And I think the reason people come back is because they have a positive experience with the instructors, they have a positive experience with the business, the owner, and that culture and all those values. It's not something you can fake for. You might be able to
yeah.
fake it for 15 minutes on a phone call, or in a office, but it's not something you can fake over months and years. That people are going to be patroning your academy. So I think that's the reason people come back. They have a positive experience. They have a positive. They make progress. Our instructors are very good, and they make sure people could progress. If you don't experience the pleasure of progress, it's very tough to keep going. I think the pleasure of progress is more important for people than the destination, than the goal. It's the progress that they enjoy the most, and the learning and the improvement. So I think because we do that well, people keep coming back, and people keep attending, and the school keeps growing, and people keep bringing their friends in. Um, but it's like any other organization. When there's 10 people at the school, um, it's one thing. When you have 100 people at the school, it's not that it's 10 times more complicated. It's like 100 times more complicated. And you go
Okay.
to two or 300 people, and it's 1,000 times more complicated, because you have everybody has a relationship with the other students, has a relationship with the coaches, and there's all this interconnected web of
Yeah.
dynamics, and you have to keep the place healthy, and it just takes one bad apple. uh, at our school, unfortunately, we've had to kick people out. We kicked out one individual because he made comments that people didn't want to hear. And it's one thing when one person says it, but when you get like a dozen people not enjoying the comments somebody's making, um, you got to make the unfortunate decision of that. Ask this person, hey, I think you're better off training somewhere else. This isn't the spot for you, because you have to maintain your culture, and you can't be so. I'd prefer to have his money and his business right economically, but you get to a role where you're managing a very fluid and dynamic organization of of a few hundred people, and it doesn't take much to make it a bad experience, because you have a class of 25, 30 people, right? And you have one disruptive
Yeah.
adult, disruptive kid, and now 30 people are having a bad experience, and that happens 3-4 days a week. Well, you're going to have attendance drops, you're going to have dynamics you don't hear about. People are going to vote with their dollars, and they're going to go down the street. So I think maybe the only other thing I'll add is, I think one of the reasons people keep coming back is because we're getting better at keeping the wrong people from coming in.
Mm-mm. Got it. Got it. Yeah. You're trying to deal with high numbers as well, and that's part of it, right? Can you, to wrap it up, can you just tell anybody who's watching, what jujitsu can do for their lives?
Mm, what jujitsu can do for their lives? Um, Man, I don't know if I have an elevator pitch for something like that. And I don't want to be cliche or say something trite. I think when you start on something like jujitsu, you you kind of enlist yourself to be a martial artist, and that's a complicated thing to unpack. But I think jujitsu gives you a very difficult set of skills to obtain, and as a result of pursuing those skills, you will change. I don't know how much or to what degree or how quickly, but inevitably it will change you, and it will mold you in probably ways you don't plan on having change, or couldn't predict. And for some reason through that process, people find their lives more meaningful and enjoyable,
Mm,
because it focuses you. Some people stop drinking because they want to be able to train. Some people stop smoking. Some people lose weight. Some people eat less. Some people make friends they didn't expect them to make. Some people start competing. There's there's all these things that people do. Um, but I've never quite been able to explain why people really enjoy jujitsu, because I it's it's really crazy to say, but it's almost beyond words. It's like one of those things where
I think
it's like me asking you, can you tell me what a banana tastes like?
yeah. I think that's what makes it intriguing to me, 'cause there's just some kinda connection, you know, where, it just impacts people somehow. Like the strenuous training and the pressure, and I mean, I get all kinds of answers. So, but it seems to be always the case that, it does impact people's personal lives in a, meaningful way. Yeah. So, man,
Yeah, I
thank you so
think
much for your
it's
cool perspective, man. Thank you for your story and for being on. You guys are on social media, right? You're on Facebook. I know.
Yeah, yeah, Jim Jitsu Allen on Instagram and Facebook. We don't really do TikTok or YouTube yet, but we will one
Yeah.
day.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you, man. I hope you have an amazing day today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cody. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Take care.
All right. Take care.